Hi there. In this video I'm going to give you a really simple piece of advice that will help you avoid procrastinating when you're studying. In a previous video I advised you to unpack tasks or break them down into their component parts to reduce the odds that you'll procrastinate. I'll put a link to that video in the top right hand corner of the screen in case you haven't already seen it. In this video, I'm going to give you another piece of advice about how to avoid procrastination using something called implementation intentions. When we talk about predictors of success when it comes to studying, one of the things that frequently comes up as being really important is our ability to self-regulate our behaviour. And what that basically means is our ability to plan, execute and monitor the effectiveness of our behaviour and then make changes to our behaviour if it turns out that what we're doing isn't particularly effective. When you think about it, procrastination is a quintessential failing in self-regulation. So if we can do something to enhance your ability to self-regulate your behaviour, there's a fairly good chance we can also reduce your tendency to perpetually put off doing something until some point in the future. One of the reasons our intentions, even sincerely held ones like wanting to get started with a piece of academic coursework, don't always translate into action, is because when we think about intentions, we tend to fixate on the goal that we want to achieve, rather than how and when we are going to execute the series of steps that are required to achieve that goal. And the problem is, being specific about the goal that you want to achieve, but being really vague and fuzzy about how and when you're going to undertake the steps needed to achieve that goal, is one of the things that leaves the door wide open for procrastination. One way you can avoid falling into the trap of fixating on goal-based intentions is to make a conscious effort to use something called implementation intentions. Now, implementation intentions differ from goal-based intentions in that they explicitly state how and when the kind of behaviour that you need to undertake to move closer to completing your goal will be achieved. Think of implementation intentions as consisting of two vital components, an if component and a then component. The if component specifies the situational cue that will prompt you to undertake a goal-relevant behaviour. The then component specifies that goal-relevant behaviour. So, for example, if it is Thursday at 5 p.m, then I will spend an hour working on the composition of the first draft of my essay. Now at this point you might be feeling a bit incredulous that something as simple as implementation intentions could stop you from procrastinating, or at least reduce the extent to which you procrastinate. But at the point of making this video, there's about 30 years of research that consistently supports the use of implementation intentions in reducing the gap between the intention to do something and actually getting on with doing it. So how do they work? Firstly, implementation intentions seem to serve as very effective cues in identifying the situational prompt for a particular behaviour, so that if we encounter that situational prompt, we're more likely to recognise it and then respond to it. Secondly, implementation intentions seem to make for a stronger association between a situational cue and the desired behaviour, giving that behaviour elements of automaticity. In other words, behaviour that you just get on with without really thinking about too much. And this can be particularly useful if it's related to a task that perhaps you're not particularly enthusiastic about doing, or when you encounter obstacles in the completion of a task. If you spend time deliberating and umming and ahhing about whether you should be doing that task, you're much more likely to procrastinate. But if it's just something that you kind of just get on with automatically, you're much less likely to procrastinate. These two things seem to help alleviate some of the problems associated with the effective self-regulation of behaviour, such as the failure to consider when, where and how you will initiate behaviour that will contribute towards the completion of the goal at hand. So the next time you have a studying related goal, try using the if-then implementation intention format to specify the actions that you need to undertake in order to achieve your goal. It's not like this is going to take much effort on your part, and you might get a surprise at just how well implementation intentions can work in reducing your tendency to procrastinate.